Hello and welcome to this very late afternoon, get ready for your weekend episode of the ORCA pod. We are continuing our coverage of. Sorry, I've lost my place. I'm a little bit hungover. Our coverage of Backyard Survivor Season 2, yards apart, absolutely robbed here in the 5th place of the rankings, but that's what we get from democracy. It doesn't work. But now we've been covering it. It's been a fantastic time. We had some great interviews. And today we have the most anticipated episode of our coverage that we do. It's the tea party with the fabulous Annabel and all of her amazing guests. Unfortunately, one of those guests has stood us up. Very disappointed in you, John. We arranged this specifically for you because you're in the UK to make this time work, and you're not even here. It's very disappointing. But we may see if we can get someone else in. But before we get into the guests, I will hand over to your host, the fabulous Annabel. Next week, I'll be back to do the coverage and interview. We'll be handing out all of the awards. Go and vote if you haven't voted already. And I'll be chatting with Kyle and Brian about this fantastic season. But without further ado, I bring in Annabel. Welcome.
Hi. Yeah, okay. Is it just me or was this season good? It was very watchable. I found myself doing more than the bare minimum in this watch back and loving it. So really excited. I think it really helps that Kyle and Brian are so hot and funny. But I immediately fell in love with the guests that we have. Again, John, it's not very famous of you to not be turning up today, but that's fine. Maybe you got a better offer. Let's bring in the first guest. So when I know that the tea party, wait. Give us a moment. You're going?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is you.
So
Hi.
I'm here. Hi, hon. Hi. Hi, I'm fabulous. So I knew that the 3 people you'd lined up for me, I'm going into episode 1. I'm like, okay, they're going to be messy. It's the tea party. We're here for drama. Made immediate sense to me, this first person. She came in with the unicorn glasses. She tells everybody in the gang that she's going to be a master manipulator because of her background as a puppeteer. Jess, I was obsessed with you from the first second. Welcome. Come on in.
Hey, come on down. Hello. Thank you for having me.
What an icon.
Thank you.
Our other guest that we've got today, it wasn't immediately apparent to me in the first half an hour why this person was going to be on the tea party. But as we slimed our way through the season, it was clear there was a messy bish out there, and his name was Stephen. Stephen, come on in. Hi, Stephen.
Oh, no.
We've had some technical issues with Stephen this afternoon. Can you hear and see us, Stephen?
Nah, sorry, guys. I can't see.
He's in here twice. That's dangerous. Having Stephen in the same
Two Stephens, he'd be unstoppable, Jess. Absolutely unstoppable. All right. Well, let's maybe just power on with Stephen looking hot in the background. Jess, how did you get roped into this whole live reality games thing?
How did I get the privilege?
Yes.
I'm friends with Brian. I met him back in Florence. We had lots and lots of silliness, and he said, "Hey, do you want to put some silliness in front of a camera?" And I said, "Of course I do. Absolutely." Yeah.
So and you truly blessed us. You truly blessed us. Okay, so were you familiar with Survivor? Had you really watched the show before? Stephen, by the way, are things any better? No.
No.
But I'd watched the show.
I'd watched a little bit of the real thing, the proper TV worldwide sort of one. Loved that. Always thought that it would be great. Thought that I would rock at it. Would love to have given it a go. I think Brian may have asked me about season 1, and I'm not sure whether I was available for season 1 or what happened there. I watched most of season 1.
Fair.
And then, was happy to come try it out, give it a crack, see what happens, have some fun. It's fun. and it's hard. It's very hard. It was very hard.
Do the whole 21 hours without you getting like a break.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of, you know, in between things, and you would sit, but it was just a lot of time to stew as well, and exhausting. I'm not sure if you can see it by the end of it, but by the end of it, I've given up a lot of will.
Fair play to you though, Jess. You stuck around for the jury, and then you were like the only person who stuck around from the jury who then came back for the reunion afterwards. So I was like, yeah, that's my girl.
Yeah, well, you know, when you're in it, you're in it.
You're in it.
There's no halving it.
Stephen, come to us, Stephen.
Hello.
Oh, fabulous. We finally have our robbed king.
What a disaster that was.
we live for it and wouldn't expect anything less from you. Stephen, what was your background? How did you get roped into this whole thing?
I've always been a Survivor fan, and I saw an ad pop up on Facebook and thought I'd give it a go. I've always loved the show and thought I'd be good at it, and thought I'd apply. I didn't know anyone from the community or Kyle or Brian. I'd never met them before. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but I was prepared to give it a crack.
You were like a certified rando. I love that. We don't get many of them. Were there any other people in the cast who didn't really know anyone?
Well, I just assumed that no one really knew anyone. I thought that's the premise of the game, random people rocking up and not knowing anyone else and trying to win. So I didn't know if anyone knew anyone else, except for during the game, I found out that Keegan and Mitch had a prior relationship.
Yes. Jess, to your knowledge, was there anyone else who was kind of familiar with each other? Kyle and Brian have so many friends.
Yes. They are such lovely humans that it's pretty hard. And, you know, look, it's also, I know that we had some interstate players as well, but there's also that however many degrees of separation that Perth is as well. Yeah. I think I knew there was maybe some little bits and pieces, but people chose to play things pretty close to their chest, I think. And then, yeah, at the end of the day, also, I don't know that it super matters, because I don't think anybody is really out for anyone but themselves for a lot of it.
No. And have you kind of all kept in touch? Well, you won't all keep in touch afterwards. It's been years and years. But did you make friends as a result of the experience, Stephen? Are you still in contact with anyone?
Not really. Sort of, yeah. I'd say, you know, the odd message with Kyle, the host.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, I probably haven't had any contact with anyone in the game for a little bit, maybe the last few years. So,
well, we're stoked to have ago now. It was. How many years ago was it?
About 6 years ago. It was the end of 2018. It was actually the day before my birthday, so that's why I remember it pretty well.
Wow. Oh, you were both so much fun. Jess, you came in and you were like, look, I get it. You kind of are like supposed to want to win this, but I'm a vibes girly. I'm here to have a fun time. Did you have a fun time? You had an emotional roller coaster of an experience, and you ended up making it all the way to the finale.
Honestly, I was absolutely heartbroken by the end of it. Actually, I had real, my heart really, really hurt by the end of it, and like it was such a huge toll at the end of it. I remember I got into the bathroom, into the shower afterwards, and my nose just started pouring with blood. So it's just this combination of absolute, total exhaustion, spiritually, physically, mentally, you know, all of that. Stephen, I know that you had like a huge fall straight after as well. And yeah, so yes, I had fun, but what is it? It's the type 2 fun where you look back at it and you go, I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, it's a traumatic experience, I think it's fair to say, even if you're having a good time.
Yeah.
And also, Jess, you were kind of unrelentingly honest, especially at the start. Like you weren't there to stab people in the back. Is that how you are in real life and why you wanted to bring it to the game? Or did you just kind of feel like you wanted to freshen things up? You felt a compulsion.
Well, first thing I want to say about that is when I saw the edit back, oh my God, it was irritating. like how much of a broken record I was when I said that. I walk away from the game feeling proud of how I was and who I was at the end of it. But also watching back, it's always hard watching yourself and thinking how much of a broken record I sounded with that honest play, and but yeah, I think we were going to be in there for such an intense period of time. It would be such a huge thing to hold up a lie for that long. Like trying to be and remain who I was through the whole thing was hard enough. I can't imagine what it was like trying to hold all the webs together and what kind of toll that took.
Well, Stephen can probs answer that for
Mm.
us. Stephen, you were such a pleasure to watch. I loved watching you, especially when we get to that point post-merge and the kind of alliances are set and you're like sneaking around, pulling everyone aside. You're like, buddy, I still want to work with you. Talk to me about that strategy. Was it like a jury management thing? Was it about keeping your strategic options open? It was so much fun to watch. What was it? What was the game behind it?
Well, first, can I just say that I got massive ORCA vibes watching Jess play, because she would tell people that she's voting them out before she did it, right? Then towards the end of the game, she booted her best friend, John.
Oh,
I just thought that was sort of
just
ballsy.
so much detail that you're missing
I'm-
even at that now. Why are you lying?
I'm disappointed John isn't here, because I wanted to try and talk about that a little bit more. But so I think what happened with my gameplay post-merge was leading up to that, I was really comfortable. So the very first round was probably my most nervous, when we were in a tribes of 4 people. I went to that tribal and I was honestly a little bit worried that they could have put the vote on me, because there's 4 people. We all had an opportunity to go and do a confessional, and you don't know what they're talking about while you're away. So I was really nervous the first vote. Then I was comfortable for a long period of time, all the way up to merge. Merge hit, and there was that wild tribal where I nearly went home. Like, it was me and Tennille at that point where I just scraped over the line. And I sort of said to myself, right, this is the time to step up your game. You need to start working hard. So at that point there, I just said I have to get around and start talking to people. So that's when I started to reach out to Jess and Jay, who up to that point I hadn't had much to do with. So I really ramped up my gameplay post-merge. And yeah, it was just a case of getting around and talking to people. And in such a fast-paced game where there's only minutes between rounds, you can get away with being deceptive. And everyone's tired. So in a longer game, people can probably see through your bullshit and work out your lies, where when it's so quick, it's very hard for people to work out that you're maybe not telling them the truth. So that type of gameplay probably suited my style, because I was able just to talk to people, spin a few lies, be convincing doing it. And it carried me through to the end. And probably what helped me the most was having Keegan next to me. Like, he was absolute trooper, workhorse of a bloke. He was working hard. I was working hard. I think at one stage we had, I think yourself, Jess, believing me and Keegan over John. And I think that was probably the point in the game where it could have gone either 2 ways. Jess ended up aligning with me and Keegan when she probably shouldn't have, but she believed what we were saying, and it sort of carried us towards the end. So it's just a lot of deceptiveness and getting around and talking to people.
It was incredible. You seemed to relish in it. It was messy and it was marvelous. So let's go to that John vote then. So is that what happened, Jess? Did Stephen and Keegan convince you that it was actually John as opposed to Keegan who was doing the backflipping?
It's so hard, right? And it's also hard hearing this and I have so much love and respect for John. And from the moment, I think we didn't know each other before this, but from the moment we met, we got there at like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And from the moment we met, I felt really akin to John. I felt like we really connected. I still absolutely adore John, but I do feel like whatever relationship we built in the morning was damaged by the game. And like, while we say it's always a game, I think it has real life effects.
Oh
anyway.
yeah, no, I'm petty as hell. I would never forgive.
And so look, John and I made an agreement. Like, in fact, all of Calais did. We made that agreement that if anybody comes for anybody, we'll tell each other. We'll always have each other's back. When we got split up, it was like, cool, we'll always stay tight. And I think one of the tricky things is when I reflected back with John with it afterwards, I kept trying to have conversations with John and he kept shutting them down and not having a conversation and walking away from the conversation. And I started to read that, because it was happening so many times, that he wasn't with us anymore and something had happened. And when I spoke to him about that afterwards, he said from his point of view, he was like, we had that conversation. We didn't need to check in again. And so John I didn't want him to go. I didn't, and when I watched it back, I cried when I saw how I had hurt him, my actions. And yes, I whatever deception, whatever lie, whatever intention there was, ultimately I believed the wrong people, and it meant that I turned on somebody that deserved my respect in that moment. So
I think in defense of both of you, he was doing a lot of heavy lifting to protect you after the merge. But in your defense, like, you didn't know that because he was working more closely with Sarah, not being completely honest with you about how he was working. And because there was that deception about what his game really looked like with the two alliances, I think it was easy for someone like Stephen to snake his slithery little way in there and get the one up. So I think it was perfect.
Yeah, look, I think Keegan and Stephen were very good at what they did.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, Jess, you shouldn't feel bad at all if you do, because John and Sarah, they were playing the middle ground beautifully. They were never with you. Like, come at the merge vote, they didn't vote with you.
See, look, even now, who do I believe? What do I go?
You got to believe. You have to believe
walked away from
inside
that
the
game.
urn. Inside the urn. Believe inside the urn.
I loved
it
inside
clearly
the
shows
urn.
John.
Oh, it's so
not
good.
voting with you.
That's the only way to do it. Yeah, look, it's so true. At the end of the day, I know that I walked away from that still feeling proud of who I am, and I came away from that and I didn't feel like I needed to apologize to anybody. But I'm also aware that at the end of the game, I received lots of apologies from multiple different players after they saw it all. So I don't want to, even if it's a game, I don't want to play something that I have to apologize for later.
Oh, you shouldn't. I don't think you did anything wrong whatsoever. Like,
I suspect Jess's moral bar is a little different to yours, Stephen. But I don't think either of you did anything. You were both so much fun to watch in such different ways, and I would love to see you both play like the real thing, a longer version of it. I mean, Jess, it might mentally not be the right decision, but it would be so much fun. Stephen, we're all dying to know, were you actually working in the horse industry? Or were we just a little bit addicted to bullshitting poor old Mitch at this point?
Well, I'm an engineer, but I have got an involvement with horses as well. But I also thought that when I rocked up to play the game, I don't know if you can remember, Jess, but there was a horse float sitting in the front yard of the house, and I thought, well, this is going to align with my story of being a horse person, and I think it did in a way, because the horse float was Sarah's. So we had a common connection there that may have only been brought up in a minor way towards the end of the game. But any little take advantage of every little opportunity you can get. Like, saying I'm an engineer doesn't help or hinder me. Yet if you can see a little thing that can help you, take it. So yes, I do have a slight involvement with horses, and that's why this hat that I got on here is the same one I wore in the game, and it's got a little horse
Amazing.
little icon on it as well. So, so yeah, to answer your question, yes.
I didn't recognize you at the reunion without the hat and the glasses, Stephen.
Well, the reunion was a long time after, so maybe
was
I
a
just
long-
changed
yeah.
a little bit.
You'd had LASIK by that stage. I want to talk about that first vote. That was over on your tribe, Stephen. That was mad. I can't even remember whose idea it was, but they wanted to evenly split the votes between the four of you so that you would go to Rocks. And I was like, my man Steve ain't doing this bullshit. There's no way he's letting that slide. So how did you manage to bring two of them together to take out, was her name Heidi or Helen, the person that you were least keen on? How did you fix it for all of us?
It was really easy, because at that stage of the game, it's anyone but me is the strategy. So what happened was, this is my take on things, I could be wrong, but I came back to camp with that the idol clue, and the idol clue was it was to do with it was, the power is yours for the taking. Use your wit. Look where you sit. For this game you'll be making.
My God, what good memory!
I have, yes. And I believe Helen thought that meant the idol may either be hidden at tribal council or at the confessional where you sit and you do your confessional. So we went and did the challenge. We lost. We came back, and if my memory is correct, Helen was the first one to want to get up and go and sit and do their confessional. And if you watch the episode, you actually see her searching around the confessional a bit, trying to find it. So when she's got up and gone away, I just said to AJ and Claudia, let's just vote Helen. And then the story was, well, what do we tell Helen? And I think Claudia came up with the idea, well, let's say we're going to do a 2-2 split. But that was never happening.
Okay, that was never happening.
I would never have gone along with that. It's just too risky. So, yeah, it might have been painted in the episode like it was a possibility, but yeah, that was never happening. And I would have liked to work with Helen. I quite liked Helen, and it was just a case she was wrong place, wrong time. She got up first, went away. I wanted to try and lock in a plan straight away. And yeah, just poor Helen was just unlucky, I suppose.
She's an awesome artist, by the way, Helen, as well. Like we missed, by losing her at that point. We lost such a incredible personality and performer. I think it's Trixie Hart is her drag name, her artist name. Awesome. Just to give her a little plug in there.
Yeah, check it out on Instagram, everyone. Awesome. All right. So after this, our short fedora king, Tristan, goes over to the Blue Tribe, and there's this kind of cross-tribal alliance made, which works really well on your tribe, Jess, and simply just doesn't exist on your tribe, Stephen. Stephen, how did you worm your way in to be closer with Keegan, who ostensibly had an alliance standing with John and Sarah? How did you manage to make that alliance of you, Mitch, Keegan, and Claudia? Question mark?
Yeah, I think the game actually started an hour before it started. So we all sat in this driveway, like in the early hours of the morning, just sitting around waiting to get the call up. And I remember having Keegan come in, and I was chatting to him, and I just thought he was a nice guy. We seemed to click a bit. It's funny looking back, all the stuff he was telling me even before the game was bullshit. He told me he was from WA. He did flooring. Turns out it was all wrong. But he seemed a disarming type of guy. I remember he had this Daffy the Duck shirt on with this floppy hat. He seemed a brute of a guy. I thought he'd be great in challenges. And he had this energy about him, and I thought, yeah, I can work with this guy. He seems switched on. He said he knew Survivor. And I thought, yeah, this is the guy I want to work with. So when we came to the swap, we spoke, we clicked straight away. And I think he even said in his confessional that he got a good vibe from me, and we would work well together. And we did for the whole game. We sort of, I think we were just sort of a power couple, really, out there just steamrolling.
You were an unlikely duo. Like, you were an unlikely duo, but just it worked so well together for me.
If he listened
Jay.
to me, he would have won the game. I said to him, we have to vote out Jay at, I think it might have been fine when Jess went, but he was adamant that Jess had to go. And I went
We know
along
I
with
would have
it.
won if I had it gone through.
What's that?
We know I would have won if I had him gone through.
Very good chance. You could have won that final challenge as well. But I just felt that at that time, I didn't know what the final challenge was, and I thought if it's some sort of crazy challenge, and I just felt that we had a better chance of beating yourself, Jess, than Jay. Like I thought that if we could have got Jay out then it would have been me, Keegan, and Sarah at final 3. But I think Keegan would have won. I think he had the majority of the whatever you call them, the precast votes or the absentee votes, which I don't agree with. But anyway, that's another subject. But yeah, I think Keegan that was the moment where Keegan cost himself the game.
I mean, you had done a lot of work, though, to sow this discord in the relationship between Sarah and Jay. There wasn't, like, Sarah, Jess, was there the same kind of distrust between you and Sarah?
Yeah, I think so. I think Sarah probably, when we had to pick teams, you do that old primary school softball thing where you have to select your teams, and I was made captain and I had to pick a team, and I think Sarah was the last of Calais that I picked, and I think that probably hurt her, and I think that probably possibly meant that she didn't feel like that I had her back as much as I did, and it was crazy because Calais was the dominant, we were all still left for so long. If we had a banded together, and if Sarah and I had stayed tight, if John and I had stayed tight, Tris, it would have been sweet. We would have been all making it. But yeah, something switched. And I think wherever any vulnerability was found, it was like tugged on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I also think that I think John and Sarah sort of played the middle game a bit. If they had come merge, align themselves strongly with yourself, Jess, I think you guys would have just steamrolled the people like myself, Claudia, Mitch, and it would have been you, John, and Tristan probably at the end. But
it was
John,
so hard because it was like, there was 2 of us on one side saying, yeah, absolutely, this is the way to go. These are the people, we trust them. And then there were the 2 of us on the other side saying, yeah, but no, our people are the people that we trust. And, strong personalities that everybody, and it just sometimes...
John didn't want to play with, I think, people that he hadn't worked with before. Yeah. So Jay and Tennille, he hadn't had any dealings with them. So he was torn whether to go back to you and also work with Jay and Tennille or stick with the Yellows. So,
and it's so hard because John was really backing you and Keegan and saying, no, we trust them. And then the irony that, talking to you and Keegan was one of the things that got John voted out when he was, pushing to keep you guys and to go that way. And then that ended up, it's so messy, isn't it? Like it's just, and then to try and decipher it all and go it all through and yeah. But that's why it's all tea, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all tea. And look, you've still got a lot of fans. CM in the chat says, Stephen is the GOAT of Backyard, massively robbed. We will get to that later. I want to talk about the pre-merge feuds of it all. You know what? If Jake had lasted more than 2 episodes, I think he was a lock-in for the ORCA of the season. That man was doing the most. What happened between you and him, Stephen, to the point where he's booing you at the reunion and refusing to give you a hug?
He was the guy that I feared the most. I remember seeing him before the game started and then during the game, and he was just an unhinged, unpredictable lunatic who I just did not want to have a bar with. And we got along fine in the game. I didn't have a problem there whatsoever. I think, post game he didn't want to know me. I don't know why. Maybe he thinks I wrote down his name 7 times or something. I don't know why he doesn't like me. Didn't get that one.
Don't care, honestly. Let's be real. Yeah, not keeping you up at night. Now, you weren't the only one feuding at this point. Jess, talk to us about you and Dan. Did you expect to make a mortal enemy playing this game, especially given your, generally honest and kind approach?
No. Like, where did that even, I called him out on some bullshit, and I don't think that was comfortable for him, So that can be hard. That would have been confronting. That would have been difficult. Looking at it back and looking at the different in confessions, I don't think I realized how much I had maybe got under his skin. But I don't know. Yeah, like I feel like, especially in that, when I'll call a spade, and if I see it, then I'll call it. But the thing is, I didn't do it with any intention. The thing was, I know that you've lied. Would you like an opportunity to tell the truth in this situation? But again,
some men just don't like being called out on their bullshit.
Maybe that's maybe. But look, I've seen him since as well. I've seen him since, and we had a good chat. And he was able to come in and say g'day and had a good laugh. And there's a good human there.
Yeah, beautiful. We love. Okay, after this, you vote out AJ. When we have that battle back into the merge, but let's start with you, Stephen. Who were you rooting for to come back in?
Probably I didn't really care. I was sort of hoping AJ because I thought there was that connection from the start of the game.
And you didn't vote him out.
I probably didn't want. I was more cheering for people not to come back more so than some individual person to come back, you could say.
Yeah,
it was a tough challenge.
It went
for ages.
It went for such a long time.
It went for so long it was dark.
That's why we didn't finish till 4 a.m.
That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. Jess, were you... Well, okay, maybe actually before we finish that thought, who were you rooting for to not come back?
We wanted AJ back. You wanted honesty. We thought he had the best chance to come back. We wanted him to come back. And how stupidly naive that was to think that he wouldn't have felt
okay.
shut up by it.
So you thought he'd have the warm and fuzzies about rejoining the fam.
But we genuinely, we were all cheering for him, and we were so excited when he got back. Very genuinely.
Love that for you. Was there anyone you really didn't want to come back, or you didn't care? You just really wanted AJ.
Yeah. Well, look, I knew that. I knew that if Daniel had found some way to come back in or anything like that, if that was a possibility, then that would have been not good for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, Stephen, no. I'm so glad they did that after the urn or whatever they call it, because this merge vote was so crazy. Steve, you bravely played your idol on Mitch, who was in your core 4 alliance. Talk to us about that decision.
We knew that numbers were dicey. I knew there was a bit of flip-flopping between people, whether they go one way or the other. And I was very close with Keegan, and I backed in the fact that he was telling me the truth. And I could sort of see what he was doing. He was clearly playing both sides. when he said Mitch is the one getting the votes, he also explained that if we played the idol for Mitch, we can get rid of someone from the other tribe.
This is Keegan?
Keegan,
John?
yeah.
Yeah, Keegan, yeah.
So Keegan was feeding me the information, and that's why I played it for Mitch. I thought that's our best chance of keeping our alliance strong. I didn't want Mitch gone. He was part of my alliance. So, yeah, that was a crazy time. That I really didn't, feels like I didn't work too hard that round because Keegan was just doing a lot of the backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I played it for Mitch. And I thought that was enough to get his vote at the end, but maybe I should have found another idol and played it for him around in the future to maybe have got his vote, but wasn't quite enough, unfortunately.
He couldn't forgive you for all the other crap. But you're right. You'd think an idol should be enough.
I thought that'd get me enough, points on the board to get the vote at the end, but not to be. That's right.
Jess,
I forgive you, Mitch. I love you.
Jess, you on the other hand were a recipient
Of an idol
from Tennille.
What a queen! Yeah.
How did that feel?
It was a shock. Real, huge. She threw herself on the sword. And yeah, just absolute. I felt so tight with both Jay and Tennille. Such beautiful, beautiful warriors, and yeah, to have that sacrifice, like, what an honor. Felt pretty.
Were you expecting to get a lot of votes?
Yeah, every single tribal I went into, I thought I was going to get a lot of votes. Okay. Everyone, even if I wasn't even in the tribe voting.
I mean, CK had mistakenly told me you went out in episode 5, so every episode I was watching and you stayed, I was like, oh, yeah, slay.
Yeah. It's. I think it felt like people were coming for me so often, so it was always a thrill when I was still there.
You meant she came 5th. Well, look, you were very confusing about it, frankly, CK. All right, so this lights a fire under your ass, Stephen, and this is when you start we go full wheeling and dealing mode. Talk to us about those key connections you had in Claudia and Keegan.
Well, Claudia was my ride or die from the start, and and Keegan was also that person. So they were my two. And Mitch made the 4 of us. But then I had to work to try and build alliances with other people. And I think there was a point where I went to yourself, Jess, and I said, let's start talking. We hadn't talked up to this stage. And I sort of spun it that, look, I hadn't spoken to you because I didn't want to bullshit to you because we're working against each other, but now's the time to get on board. And I think I even said the idea to, which I think resonated with you. I said, look, let's vote together, and I'll put a little symbol on my vote so you can see that I'm being true to my word. And when the next round the votes came out and she saw that I voted her way, I think that's also helped build sort of connections with Jess. And I think she may have mentioned that to maybe Jay at the time as well. Stephen voted, with me. So just put in the work, so it was about relationship bonding. And I think I did well at that stage of making connections.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that, actually. Yeah, and I recall that as a way of showing that I could trust you. You said, I'll do this, and then you did it.
Sneaky Steve. We love it. So in terms, I'm thinking about your alliance right now, Stephen. So we've got Claudia, we've got Keegan, we've got Mitch. You're diversifying your portfolio by investing in other relationships as well. But in your mind, right? So it's Claudia's your number 1, then Keegan, then Mitch. Is that how it went?
I would have said Claudia and Keegan were both my number 1s.
Okay.
Claudia simply because we'd spent the most time together and I trusted her. And I trusted Keegan as well, but I felt like Keegan's sort of his like gameplay or his strategy was was in line with what I was trying to do as well. I think we were both being sneaky, and we really worked well together. Those two were definitely my number ones, probably each for different reasons.
Yeah. Okay. How did Mitch find himself on the outs of that group?
Oh, well, Mitch was never on the outs. I just probably didn't feel as close with Mitch as I was with Keegan and Claudia. But Mitch was part of that core because Keegan was close with Mitch.
Yeah.
So we're all connected in one way or another that helped form that solid four.
Yeah. Jess, you on the other hand, you had a wholesome ragtag group. So you had Jay and Tristan. Talk to me about who's your kind of core group at this stage. Going into the double.
Where were we?
We're about to go into the Tristan Claudia elimination.
Okay. God, I remember.
Were you that close
being very close with? Hey,
were you that close with Tristan?
I look. Yes and no. Yes and no.
Okay.
There was never anything bitter or anything hard or anything difficult or challenging with Tristan. But I didn't have the same kind of bond with Tristan that I had with Jay.
Yeah.
And Jay and I were very, very tight, and Jay and Tennille were very, very tight. I think there was probably a little bit of a feminist kind of girl thing happening there as well. But there was a lot of love with Tristan as well. There was never any spot or anything like that. One of the little things that kind of was missed and kind of started really coming into play around this point is I think it was Jay, Tennille, and I developed a little hair lacquey system that when things were going to go the way that we had all talked about, we would keep our hair lacquey on our right wrist. And if some shit was coming, we would switch our hair lacquey to the other side. And so I think we started to develop little things like that, which I can't recall whether or not Tristan was there for that.
Okay.
But yeah.
Things were getting messy. Like, let's be honest, you couldn't be in all conversations at all times. I think that's how Claudia ends up going out. So we get towards the end of the game. I think we've spoken about a lot of stuff here. We've spoken about the John vote. We've spoken about how Jess ends up going out over Jay. So let's get to the final tribal. Where did things go wrong here, Stephen? Because look, there's a lot of, I can see how things happened, Maybe you spent all that time building those relationships that you inevitably had to stab them in the back. Maybe there was a bit of jury, but a lot of people who've watched felt like you were robbed. Where do you think that things went wrong for you in that final tribal or pre?
Look, watching my final tribal council performance back, it was cringe. I got similar sort of feelings as watching Ray Guns breakdancing the Olympics. It was pretty bad. But what I will say as well is that I wasn't winning before we walked into final tribal council. There were 6 people who turned up, right? Of which I got 2 votes. Sarah got 3 votes and Jay got 1 vote. And I think I heard CK say that I didn't read the room and I should have gone along with more of the friendly mateship type approach. But the way I looked at it was that there were 6 people sitting there. I wasn't getting John's vote. He was always voting Sarah. I felt that was the case. And I felt like Jess was pretty much going to vote Jay because they were super close. And I thought there was that friendship there and she would vote with her. So there was 4 votes up for grabs. And I was pretty confident Keegan was going to vote for me because he'd seen me play and we were very much similar. So there was probably only 3 votes up for grabs there. There was Daniel, Casey and Mitch.
Yeah.
And I thought I would get Mitch's vote because I'd played my idol for him and he'd played a very strategic game and I'd played a strategic game. So it really came down to it. I really only saw sort of 2 votes up for grabs there, like Casey and Daniel. They were unknowns to me. They were sort of people who left the game early. So I didn't know what they would respect, what type of gameplay. So
And you did win Casey.
I won Casey's vote. I didn't get Dan's vote, but I felt like sitting in front of 6 people there was probably only 2 or 3 votes which were up in the air. So I don't think my final tribal council won me or lost me the game. I think I was losing before I went in because of the weight of absentee votes or like people who voted who from the start of the game who left who couldn't be there for the end.
I think it just wasn't the kind of game that you were playing, and the person who won it was playing the kind of game it was.
Yeah, well, I think Jay was probably winning before we even sat down for final tribal council, because she had this sway of votes from people who'd left the game early and hadn't turned up for final tribal council. So
I think she just hadn't burnt as many people by the end as well.
Maybe. Yeah, she had
more friends.
She was a nice person. So, like when you're leaving the game, sort of halfway through it, to go home and have an early night, you're probably looking at, I'll just vote for the nice person, give them the vote. So, and she did play.
Stephen, I think that reduces Jay's like ability and triumph there as well. It wasn't just that she was a nice person. You know, she owned challenges as well. She knew how to make connections as well. There are some people that come in and, you know, it's the kind of game where, you know, being really clever and manipulative and playing personalities against each other and stuff, they win it because it's that kind of game. And that's awesome. And it's that game that you read and you play it. And then there are some kind of games where that's not who the hero is at the end. And that was just what this game was. It was looking for a different hero. And she played that hero right from the start, and she didn't have people voting against her, you know, to not bring her at the end.
Yeah, like she won the game fair and square, and that's what people respected. Even people who left the game early, like I was saying, they saw this nice person who was strategically able to maneuver her way through the game and shift the target to other people. So that's what they respected. The only point I was making before is that the final tribal council, to me, you should be able to go to final tribal council and argue for the win. But it felt like with only 6 people turning up, it was sort of very difficult to try and pull a win off at that stage of the game.
Is Stephen giving essences of the game is flawed?
maybe
I'm getting strong Russell energy from Stephen right now.
No, Jay won fair and square. Like she deserved the victory. She pulled off that amazing challenge win at the end. And if she didn't do that, she wouldn't have won the game. And she was very good I think she was very good at following through with her strategy of getting behind a meat shield. And she said that in a pre-game sort of story. She wants to find a meat shield, ride them to the end, and get the victory. And she did exactly what she set out to do. So she won fair and square. My only qualm is should everyone have got a vote for the winner, or should only people who sat through the game and sat at that final tribal council and listened to our arguments, should the winner have just come from those votes? Because I think we probably had people who were early votes who may have gone home not long after the merge. So they didn't really even see half the game.
But either way, Jay would have won. Didn't like when you went. Either way, Jay would have won, wouldn't she? I mean, look,
the final tribal council.
He would have been able to tell the
I wouldn't have. This isn't an argument for me because I wouldn't have won regardless. But if you just took the votes from the final tribal council, Sarah wins because she got Daniel's vote, she got John's vote, and she got Mitch's vote. She got 3 votes. I got 2 votes. I got Keegan's and Casey's, and Jay got your vote. So if you did it that way, Sarah wins. But if you do it the way everyone gets a vote, then Jay wins. In saying all that, the rules were clearly spelt out to us before the game started that everyone got a vote. So there's no conjecture here. It's just my personal opinion. I would have liked to have seen more people at Vital Tribal Council, so you got to make an argument to a bigger audience. But that's just, it's just circumstances. The game went way longer than it was expected. So people had work the next day, which does make it tough.
The sun was coming up.
The sun was coming up. So in summary, Jay won fair and square. She didn't break, there was no stretching the rules or anything like that. She won. She's the legitimate winner of our season. I think hats off to people like Casey and Daniel. I think Casey might have been voted out maybe in the second episode, and Daniel
that was so good. I was impressed to see them both there.
And they stuck it out all the way to the end. So hats off to those two guys who stuck it out. And we were asked that, hey, if you voted out early, can you stick around for the final tribal council? And I remember saying, look, if I'm voted out early, I'll hang around for the game, essentially. Because imagine if we rocked up at final tribal council and there's only 3 people sitting there and not 6. It would just, it's not right.
What is kind of cool, I mean, I know, if we're playing conjecture and things like, what is kind of cool about the way that it did happen is that it meant that those who did leave, they did an unpolluted vote. They voted based on their experience and how they'd been treated, not what they had been witnessed or how they had been talked into a particular way at the end, in the final jury. So it was you can also look at it that point of view, that people gave a really honest vote based on their firsthand experience, not based on whether or not they were swayed in a final jury.
I would say it does more strongly weight the voting criteria towards your personal relationships and feelings rather than what you thought about the strategic elements of the game. And I'm not saying that one's a more correct way than the other.
Yeah.
I think all ways are valid. I am a famously petty voter. No one would have been hating harder on Stephen out there than I would have, but as a watcher of Stephen, I loved it.
Well, for me, it wasn't about winning or losing anyway. I was there to do a job to try and make the season as entertaining as possible for people like yourself who has to sit through it for tea party viewing, and also to win the ORCA award, which was my original goal when I set out to play 6 years ago. So
he did say that. He said, I'm coming for the ORCA. Yeah, right from the start.
That is
perfect.
the true.
That is the true
season.
That is the true victory. I'm glad you actually know what the ORCA award is, Stephen, because I don't think I've ever had anyone on the tea party before who was really fully briefed on this. So for everyone's reference, the Bromelo medal for the ORCA of the season goes to, it's live voting, or it's a democracy here. So all of the people involved in the LRG podcast will vote. We also have an open survey for the viewers to vote as well. But Jess and Stephen, I'm going to give you an opportunity to pitch who you think's the best candidate for this prize. So let me give you the 3 key criteria.
Yeah.
Number 1, loud and proud. So in order to win this award, you have to have pissed people off. Okay, preferably within the first few episodes, but you need to have been loud and proud in a way that was rubbing other contestants the wrong way. Number 2, I'd say both of you did quite a good job with that, to be fair. Number 2, strong arming strategy. So you know best, all right? You have a will and you are pushing other people to bend to that will. You know the right moves. And then number 3, my personal favorite, where I really excel, propensity for narcissism. So with this, you need to have a little bit of delulu, okay? I want to see confessionals where you're talking about how you're running the game. You know, all of your strong arming strategies really paying off, and you are the player of the season. This is why I think like Jake was nailing all three of those hard in the 10 minutes, 15 minutes of airtime he got. What a shame that he went out so early. He's probably not going to win this prize. So, Stephen, you're coming in hard for this prize. I want to hear, how have we nailed this assignment?
Well, if you ask me who I think the winner is, I think it's Jess.
Why?
The fact you can tell people to their face you're going to boot them out of the show and vote for them, I think that is. Have we seen anyone do that in prior or post seasons?
I don't know. That level of confidence is giving propensity for narcissism. I see your point here, Stephen.
Loud and proud.
Tick for that. A tick for a fight with Daniel. So
Yeah.
rubbing people the wrong way, that was massive.
Yeah.
And loud and proud, and I think that was Jess as well. And I think also the fact that she could send John packing, that was another tick for the ORCA award. I think Jess ticks every category here, and I think she maybe just got a nose in front of me for the ORCA award, I think. So
Thank you, Stephen. That was a very ORCA speech of yours. Jess, I don't want you to be insulted because actually this is a prestigious prize. CK and I are both ORCA
Look, if Stephen
contenders.
wants it, I'll take it.
Oh, so Jess, who's your pitch for ORCA of the season?
Oh, look, okay, so we saw that you rub people the wrong way, right? And the
Yeah.
narcissism element of it.
Loud and proud is rubbing people the wrong way. Narcissism's you're delusional about how good your spot is. And loud and proud is your like need to dictate every move.
If I go on what was happening in the season,
Yeah.
then I don't think it would be Stephen or Keegan, because I think that they played such a deceptive game that it wasn't loud and proud. They didn't have people against them. You know, like that's the cunning and deceit of it, is that they were right under people's skin, you know. So I don't know. Maybe it is me. No.
it's a shame that Jake didn't go further, because he would have won it hands down.
Oh.
I think if he made it to, you know, even sort of the midpoint, a little bit further than the midpoint, he ticked all those boxes easily. He would have won.
He was incredible. Watching him grill Tristan was so funny. It almost cured my cold.
Was he trying to look for an idol in a Coke bottle, which was on the shore of the Swan River at one stage?
Yeah, and it ended up being with the mud, because it was something about it had to be down a line or something as well. But, you know, also, I think the other category for ORCA should be somebody misunderstood then, because Jake was total sweetie, absolutely, actually incredibly honest as a person. You know,
I did meet Jake post game. I think it might have been at Cole's birthday party, and he is actually a nice guy.
He's so lovely,
a sweet,
and a lot of what
guy.
was going on was really genuine. Actually, just trying to figure it out. It looked quite deceptive, but you know, yeah.
I don't think he'd seen much of Survivor beforehand, so he was trying to learn it on the fly. So that's why a little bit of his erraticness might have come from, in that he didn't really know what the elements of the game were. But yeah, definitely a nice guy at the game. I've met him once, and he's different to what you see on the screen. He's quite a successful guy as well, from what I understand. So yeah, nice person.
Love that. Has there been any like lasting drama from the season? Did we get any post-season hookups? Any major beefs?
I did lend. I remember I lent a shirt to Helen at the start of the game because she had a singlet on, was getting burnt, and I did find it 3 months later in lost property. So that's one thing I can remember from the game.
That's a pretty big beef, in fairness.
I had sent out a few
apologies, like I was saying before. A few people sent apologies.
Yeah,
like there was one I got like a big long page apology.
Yeah, I haven't received any.
We would go and see. Like John had shows and stuff as well. We go and see shows. Hey, what did I miss?
I did send out a few friend requests that got rejected. So there's that. What other drama?
I'm only more obsessed with the pair of you after this call, I've got to say.
I think we're friends on Facebook.
We are.
Oh, good.
Jess, everything that happened in the show, Jess sort of I reached out and said, I hope nothing's personal. It's just a game. Like if I was playing Monopoly with someone, I'd be trying to rip them off. So it's just part of the game. And my thinking was, I remember watching season 1 of Backyard Survivor, and everyone was really nice. And I think every good season of Survivor, you have people to root for. So like say the people like Jay and Jess, the nice, genuine people. But you also need people to root against and hope they fall over and stumble and flop like I did at the final tribal council. So I wanted to make a good product. So that's why I sort of went in with the confessionals where I might have been, slagging people off, and like I was prepared to throw myself on the train tracks for the sake of the season. That was giving back.
Oh, and you gave and we feasted. Thank you so much. You've both been amazing sports. Thank you for coming and reliving all the trauma from like 6 years ago. It's been incredible. Jess, plugs time. Where can people find you? Have you got anything that you want people to check out?
What I will say is I think I caught an early part of one of your other podcasts when you were listening, and you were asking if I was a real puppeteer, if I had made a career out of that.
Oh,
and
I would never. Babes, if you think I'm on other podcasts about LRGs, I am not. It'll be Jules. Yeah. So Jules wants to know, are you a real puppeteer?
I was. Well, yes, and was 13 years. I've retrained now as a clinical psychologist.
Oh, wow.
I'm finishing my training as a clin psych. But yeah, I was for 13 years. I traveled the world. I signed NDAs and performed in front of 60,000 people in stadiums.
Wow.
Yes, I was a successful puppeteer, and now I'm in people's heads, which is
you're an even better master manipulator now.
No.
So where can people check out your work?
You can't. Not anymore. No, you can try and search me up, but now that I'm into clin psych training, it's all a lot more hush.
It's all locked. All
to
right.
protect confidentiality and stuff.
It's true. You don't want your crazies tracking you down.
That? Sorry.
All right. What about you, Stephen? Are you a content creator now?
I'm not an icon like you are, Annabel. I'm not a, I don't have lots of things going for me like Jess does. I'm just a humbled individual just trying to find their way in life. So I don't think you'll find me many places, maybe on Facebook if you reach out. I've got about 150 friends. So feel free to flick me a request, anyone, if you want to talk to me. I'll be happy.
I'll take you up on that offer, Stephen. You've been a lot of fun.
Oh, thanks.
Well, otherwise there's Moxie Heart and Skyscraper as well. So those are the plugs that you can have. That's Helen and John. Moxie Heart.
Okay. There you go, everyone.
There you go. Take them.
Trixie Heart and Skyscraper. Everyone, you can find me Instagram and Twitter, Annabel CF. Podcasting over on Babes on the Brink with Chili Philly from Australian Survivor. We're wrapping up our exit interviews with the Traders Season 2 contestants. And you can also find me over on the Nullified Take live, actually, in about 20 minutes, where we're going to be breaking down the whole season of Traders Survivor New Zealand Season 2. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the tea party where, we get the goss, we get the tea, we get the drama, and tonight we even got a live bicker, so living for it. And we'll see you all next time.
Thank you for having us.